Yeah, it's quite a lovely day here today. It's certainly not hot. We're only due to get to a maximum of 18 degrees Celsius today. But that's pretty pleasant weather. It's fairly mild, but nice. So it's not cold. Unlike the coffee I've got in my hand, which is hot. Mona, probably Tasmania's most popular tourist attraction, closed. I was there last weekend, and we were talking about, wonder how long it is until Mona shuts. Well, it has. But it's one of those days, when it rains, people who have been to the beach, when it's rained at the beach and then it's sort of, everything just calms down. It's one of those kind of beach days. It's a little bit of surf, but it looks pretty beautiful down there. Hey people who've joined me, how you doing? Good morning from Tassie. Bit later than usual for my beach walk, but I've been doing some recording for print radio for a little show that I do each week. And Biscuit's gone nuts. She's eaten all of her breakfast and is demanding more food. So I was sort of like, well, this is a good time to go for a walk. She ate all of her breakfast. She gets heaps of breakfast. And at 10 a.m. she was demanding more food. I think if we end up being quarantined, keeping Biscuit entertained is probably going to be my priority and how I'm going to spend most of my time. So how's everyone doing? What's news in your parts of the world? I've got the silent lurker crowd. That's cool. Come for a stroll on the beach. I suppose at the moment beaches and national parks are sort of the few places, I guess, where they're never overly populated, so I guess people will be spending time walking and hiking and getting fresh air that way. In places where, quarantine hasn't been imposed. Hi, Will the Rocker. Good evening. Hope you're doing wonderful. I hope you're doing wonderful too, mate. How's things in Texas? The other reason we can have a bit of a stroll too is, keeping the blues at bay through all of this. Because I read an article this morning that just broke my heart about how now in Iran someone is dying every 10 minutes from coronavirus, and I can't help but think about all of those families. Weather is very humid for you. It's weirdly a bit humid here too, because we had rain this morning and because the day's warming up a little bit, but it's very mild humidity. But Tasmania is not normally a humid place, so it's kind of an anomaly. But yeah, just keep thinking about all the families that are losing family members, but like one every 10 minutes. And I was chatting to my brother-in-law today. His mother died at the start of the week, not from coronavirus, but he's a long way away from Tassie at the moment. He's down on Macquarie Island, which is halfway between here and Antarctica. And he said the boat's been fueled, which means it looks like they'll be leaving, but apparently the conditions are too rough. But I feel for him being so far away from his family and his sister and his wife, my sister, his kids, his grandkids at a time like this. And there must be so many families worldwide that have family members that are stuck in, countries because they were travelling. There's still people stuck on a cruise ship. It's bad enough losing a family member when you're where they live, but when you're not, it's, especially hard. But yeah, it's pretty full on, hey. Thanks, Will. Hit the like button for Tori. It's just you and me chatting, mate. The others aren't saying much. But let's get down onto this beautiful beach. I'm going to take my shoes off and go for a paddle. I'll let you know what the temperature's like. But I don't know about you guys, for those of you that are new to beach therapy, but this has always been my my place that I go to when I'm feeling pensive, thoughtful, sad, happy, playful. The beach is my spot. And it looks like, apart from one person right up the end at Carlton River and a dozen surfers and 4 other people, the beach belongs to all of us. Oh, and of course our resident seagull, Bazza. And just down there a little bit is Shazza. For those of you new to beach walks, we have seagulls that have this on and off again romance that's kept us all amused for a long time. Shazza's a bit of a tart. And Bazza plays hard to get. I think they both do, really. Hi, Space Monster. Love the walk, Quarantini. Yeah, well, this isn't an espresso martini, but it probably should be. Now that we're all starting to talk about, you know, ways to keep the blues at bay. So Freddie and I, our show on Sundays, addressing anxiety, because it's a, you know, it's a reality of this. And I can't remember what the statistic was that Freddie gave in a show, I don't know, in the last week, but you know, he was saying that suicide rates have spiked. Oh shit, I didn't actually want to say that. I'm going to have to put a warning on my video now, but yeah, it's going to affect a lot of people. And I guess we've just all got to try and look out for each other and get each other through this, right? Hey, old woman. Good to see you, gorgeous. The temperature, well, it's not there yet, but we're due to get to 18 degrees Celsius today. So it's probably a pretty typical autumn day. But that being said, I've got leggings on, a tank top and a little cotton. Oh, the water's cold, but refreshing. Yeah, lightweight sweater on, but I'm actually a bit hot, so, or warm is probably the better word. I could have come down here in my usual, I normally wear a little, like it's an old tennis skirt, but it's not just for tennis. It's not one of those little white pleated numbers. And a t-shirt, but it was fairly brisk this morning when I got up because it had rained, so I'm slightly overdressed for the beach today, but it's pleasant. I'm off to Gove Sunday, so I'll call and show you Nullumby if you're interested. Absolutely, Spacey. The undertow is out. It is, Will, used to be a big fisherman at the coast. Yeah, there's a lot of fishermen down this way where the peninsula that I'm on is a bit of a food bowl, so there's a lot of fishing down this way, including crayfish. I think you guys would call that lobster. You American guys, I mean. Flathead, which is an amazingly delicious fish that we couldn't give away when we were kids, and now it's like, I don't know, $34-$38 a kilo. It's crazy. But yeah, lots of my friends who live down here have boats and do a lot of fishing. Do I swim here? Yes, I do, Spacey, but not today. I won't be. It's getting cold again. We didn't have a great summer this year. We had some super hot, crazy, bushfirey sort of days. And then lots of like 19, 20 degree days. But normally, like last summer, I went for a swim every morning for like 2.5 months. It was beautiful. And when it's sunny and warm a lot, the temperature in this water can get up to 24 degrees in summer. So it's pretty pleasant. I do own a wetsuit. I have been known to do a bit of a late summer, early summer wetsuit swim, but my feet are now getting used to the water temperature, and I'm also just on the sure at the moment, but I'd say right now the water temperature would probably be fucking cold. Maybe 12 or 13 degrees. It might be more, I don't know, 14 or 15, but it's not warm. You'd get serious shrinkage in that water if you're a dude, and yeah, it's cold. There is a seagull. Bob Seagull. Steven Seagull. Seagull. Go swimming with the orcas. Hi, Richard. We don't get orcas here. Oh, we do in the River Derwent, but not down at this beach. But we do get southern rights, and there's a video actually on my channel from last year when I was just minding my own business, having a cup of tea out on my deck, and there I spied 2 whales frolicking down here, and I ran down and sort of walked along the beach parallel to them. But yeah, this is a bit of a whale nursery because the whales stop here. The mothers give birth and the fathers keep heading down to Antarctica, and the mothers stay back here and teach the baby how to breach and do all of that sort of stuff, and then they head down to Antarctica to catch up with the husbands. It's kind of interesting. Richard, memories. I did my scuba diving ticket at Bicheno, Tasmania. Oh, did you? We used to go to Bicheno as kids for like summer holidays. My parents would rent this beautiful little A-frame cottage. It used to be, I think it was the Bicheno Holiday Park, and we used to stay in one that was called Hideaway, and we'd each get to take a friend with us. I think we only did it a couple of times because then other family friends started buying shacks or beach houses, and we would be able to go and stay with them. But yeah, when we were in maybe grade 7, around that time, we went to Bicheno a couple of summers in a row, had a ball there, loved it. Got some shocking photos of me in a terry toweling dress, my dad in a canoe, my friend Ingrid covered in zinc cream because she used to burn so badly. Her whole face is just like covered in zinc. Funny shit. Good times. Bicheno is a beautiful part of the state, and that's so cool that you got your ticket there. Spanner water. Yes, Richard. Tightens your nuts. Sure would. Hi, old woman. I've just pulled over to tell you I'm driving up what I call the Deer Road. Just needed to get out. I'll post a little video of the drive in a bit. Yeah, I think we're all going to need to get out a little bit, right? I mean, where I live, we're not quarantined. I think we've had an increase. I think Australia's had an increase in deaths or something, or, you know, diagnosed cases overnight. But Tasmania took the fairly extreme and I think warranted measure of declaring a state emergency yesterday and closing all the borders except for essential travellers. That goes in effect from midnight tonight, so it gives time for people to come home. And I've got to say, like, the flight path actually goes down to like Dunalley, which is down there, where that sort of hill is between the big bluff. That it would probably look dark blue on your screens. So the planes go down there and then they fly along here. And there was a plane that flew by just before. And I noticed last night when I was at home that there seemed to be flights coming in like every half an hour. So I think they're probably, you know, working overtime to get as many people home as they can. Look at the sand. The sand is actually looking dark today because it rained very heavily this morning. So it's still very damp. Well, looks like storms. Yeah, it's overcast. But it doesn't feel stormy, but you know, it could get stormy because there is a bit of humidity around. There might be a thunderstorm lately. Thunder. Na 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 na. So here's Barry, just doing his thing. Hi, Unspoken Bear, welcome. Well, fantastic, Tori. It's an amazing experience to swim with whales and orcas. I've been fortunate to do both. You lucky thing, I've never swum with any type of whale. The time of the year when the whales are in this bay, treating it like a little nursery, it's way too cold to go swimming. I mean, well, you could go out in a wetsuit, but also the direction down here for us is to not go near them. I love the reflections in the waves when they're cresting right before they break. It's just like glass. Hey Morgan, welcome gorgeous. Hey, there's people walking along the beach in beanies and parkas and boots, so I don't feel overdressed now. And in fact, there's a bit of a breeze picking up now, which is quite cool and refreshing. But I think with with coronavirus, if people are able to still leave their homes to go on a little drive in the car or walk around the garden, do a bit of gardening, do some gardening on your deck if you've got a deck, if you live in an apartment, I think those sorts of activities are going to keep us all pretty sane, right? I love that I've got the beach at the end of my street. I don't feel like I take it for granted, but I would imagine if you're suddenly quarantined and locked down and literally have to stay in your house, my yearning for the beach would probably spike out of control, you know? It's that whole... I think Freddie was explaining it yesterday because he's been in quarantine for, I think it's day 6 for him now, and just, you know, cabin fever and... but also that sort of psychology of when you're told not to do something, you want to do it more. Flyby COVID-19 drop-offs to Tassie. Yep. Morgan, we actually have some sun today. It's been raining. Oh, that's good. Sun brightens up moods, doesn't it? I mean, when Freddie and I talk on the weekend about some anxiety tips, one is, and it's medically proven, is to go and sit outside if you can, or if we're truly locked down, sit at a window and just close your eyes and look at the sun for 15 minutes. And just your body, that's the quickest way for your body to absorb vitamin D is through your eyelids. And it's so good for us. So little things like that are going to become how we help keep our bodies healthy. I mean, in addition to taking vitamins or whatever, but being able to actually naturally add vitamins to our bodies just by looking at the sun works too. Morgan, my parents are mandated to shelter in place and now I miss visiting my mom. Yeah, it's going to be, I think separation anxiety is another really valid thing to discuss as well, because, you know, it's a slightly different scenario, but my brother-in-law, whose mum died this week, he's a long way away, and we were talking this morning and, you know, I just sort of said to him, I feel for you because being so far away must be awful. And as much as Bonnie tried to hang on for him to get home, and he's due home in the next week or two, maybe the 25th of March, although he said to me today that they've fueled up the ship, which is a really positive sign. It means they are preparing to leave, but the swell is too big, so today's out, but maybe tomorrow. I thought it took them a week to get down there, but I think it's more like 5 days at sea. So, but you know, I think a lot of people will be feeling it, and you know, a lot of people who live overseas would be missing their families at home. I think everyone's going to get into FaceTiming and Skyping. Hi Judy Ron, good morning Twiggy, how are you gorgeous? Thanks for joining us on the beach, Judy Ron. So a lot of statistics now are just getting, it's so sad in a way. Like, I'm fascinated watching all of this unraveling, but you know, reading things like this morning about how a person's dying every 10 minutes in Iran from coronavirus, how Italy has now overtaken China in the death toll and, you know, is continuing to spike. The spikes that are happening across the United States, countries like Spain and Germany, and now Switzerland is starting to show spikes. France, of course, where our beautiful Freddy is at the moment on day 6 or 7 of his quarantine. Hi, Emily. Twiggy, I'm down on the top of the Tasman Peninsula. So, yeah, technically the Eastern Shore. But this is Carlton Park Beach. So, you know, like 15 minutes out of Sorell on the top of the peninsula. Great to have you here, Emily, as well. Welcome, everybody. So yeah, I mean, now in terms of coronavirus globally, and I think we are all in this together, we are a big global community. Diagnosed cases are now over 250,000. Hello. Gorgeous kids. They're gorgeous kids. There's now been over 10,000 deaths. Like, it's, you know, the figures are spiking. So we've all got to wrap each other in lots of love and hold each other's hands, and we can get through this. Numbers went up in Michigan, Emily, from 110 to 336. Yeah, so that's tripled, you know, like, I just hope the governments are all... The government's like our government yesterday. I'm so proud of them for closing off the borders and declaring a state emergency before mainland Australia had, because, you know, the reality is I live on a small island, so does Twiggy. Oh, you're in the Valley of Love. Nice. Another beautiful part of the state. Yeah, we're all here for each other, which is, I think, so special. And, you know, I'm happy to go live every day, even if it means one person just needs someone to chat to. I'm happy to do that. I'm lucky in that I live down on the coast, on the southern beaches. It's about 40 minutes out of our capital city, Hobart. I have no need to go into our capital city for anything. Everything's been organised, so things I used to have to pick up in Hobart are now being delivered down to the vet down here for my cat. And yeah, I'm lucky. And I've also got really good fibre optic cable here, so hopefully I'm always going to be able to go live without too many hiccups. Morgan, Governor of California, Arnie. Is Arnie still your governor? He is, isn't he? Just got to scroll back down. 56 of us in the state will be infected within the next 8 weeks. And I think I saw Judy Rodden saying, I hope you're wrong. But I think that's probably a fairly realistic figure. But you've got to also bear in mind that of the 56% that are infected, there's currently a 7% mortality rate, but there's also a huge percentage of people that are testing positive who aren't showing any side effects or symptoms at all. So, you know, hopefully trying to give the people that are... Suddenly now, there was nobody at the beach before. Well, not nobody, but there were like, what was it? A dozen surfers and 6 of us actually on the sand, and there's all these people have just come from somewhere. Shit, and I'm trying to be discreet. I'll go back this way. That's one of my favourite houses up there. The modern bit on the left and the green on the right. That's all one house. But the right on the very left end of it, that's an outdoor dining area with an open fireplace. That's also on the other side into the living room, and they can close it off in winter. But what I love about it is it's a bit of a fishbowl, and the street that goes along to my house is directly behind that house. But they've decked it out in, you know, like the old furniture that you keep in your garage, and it's not decked out in fancy stuff, and I really love that. But this is my favourite one, the curved deco. Oh, I love it. backyard's an absolute mess, but I swear to God, the second a for sale sign goes up on that, I'm like, yes, thank you. It's mine. A lot of people love this one too, which is, you know, kind of almost on the beach. It's the lowest of all of them on the dunes, but that one there is my favourite. But there's also a little wooden, bit similar to that little one there in the middle of the two. There's a little wooden shack that is just really simple and basic, that's kind of similar to my place, and I love it as well. But yeah, put out vibes that they're wrong, but just remember, guys, that Arnie's out a while now. Why was he popping up on something the other day? He's still got some clout. Gavin Newsom, cool. Thank you for letting me know that. I'll remember that. I hope you've got your dishes washed, Will. Emily, I made a decision today to self-isolate. I've been doing some training of future Stephen ministers, but it can wait. My life and the lives of others is more important. Absolutely. Arnold signed your college diploma. That's pretty cool, Morgan. You should try and sell it. Sell it on eBay for $30. I did read one story today which was kind of depressing, I think, about how all these Hollywood celebrities have been tested even when they weren't showing any symptoms. And then the very next article was how there's such a low supply of testing kits that they're turning people away and suggesting they go home and self-quarantine, and they've got a really good chance of surviving. There's a lot of articles of people that have survived, like, you know, so 2 weeks later they're now writing in their blogs about the reality of it and how they came through it. But what's with that? I know our culture reveres our celebrities and our sports stars, but that just made me feel sick reading that all these Hollywood actors are all just getting tested, I guess, out of vanity, because the majority of them are coming back with negative results. And this article is saying the majority of them don't show any symptoms, nor have they been exposed to any sort of real sources of it. You know, and I've been saying a lot all along that, you know, it's bringing the best and the worst out in people, but money buys everything, Judy Wrong. You're so right. I just find that sickening. And I kind of hope that the people that have got ridiculous amounts of money, like celebrities, find ways to be philanthropic through this and do something productive and creative with their money, because I'm reading stories about people that have barely got a cent to rub together who are still out there helping the community and sharing what they have with the community. And I hope some of these, I mean, when the Australian bushfires happened a few months ago here, you know, some celebrities, some big name celebrities donated a lot of money, which was amazing and really appreciated. But also the Australian bushfires, you know, all these Australians were all bragging about how much money we raised, and we did raise a heap of money and all the good that we did, and they're the very same people, possibly not, maybe not. But, you know, now we've got Australians taking items out of elderly pensioners' shopping trolleys, and we've now got specific times for pensioners to go shopping where other members of the public can't, because people have been, there's another plane coming in, bringing all the Tasmanians home. Exactly, Judy Ron, that's exactly like, yeah, some average Joe Blow gets fucked and has to wait. Exactly. I do believe, yeah, we are going to see the best and worst of people. And God, I think they must be using some of their old planes. That almost sounds like a Fokker Friendship. It actually looks like it's got propellers on the wings. Does it really? Oh my God. They are trying to get everyone home. Who knows their planes? Oh, maybe it's a jet. It sounded like a little, you know, propeller plane for a minute there. Because yes, we've closed off our borders to residents returning home and essential travellers, which includes residents that need to get home, and essential services only, so your SES kind of people and people bringing supplies over, if we need assistance with medical practitioners, that sort of stuff. So from midnight tonight, anyone that arrives back who is in the non-essential category, which does include, the returning Tasmanians, they have to automatically go into 14 days compulsory quarantine, and the penalties for breaching that are pardon me, $16,800 and 6 months in prison. And because a state of emergency has been declared here, the police commissioner now is, hey Bazza, now has powers to bring in all of these new provisions if people breach their quarantine. So an interesting time here, but because we're on an island, we do have the possibility of containing it, or at least managing it. I think we've got 10 cases in Tassie now. Just going to do some more reading. It's crazy the difference in progression by state and country. It is. It's just watching it all unravel, right? Australia's got little spikes starting to happen, and a couple of our states have sort of tripled numbers overnight. But it's fascinating watching it unravel. But I think also in terms of mental health, we've all got to look after each other and, remind ourselves that this is pretty daunting information. And I'm not talking about getting scared or frightened. I'm talking about people that are actually, frightened I guess is part of anxiety, but I mean in terms of us getting a little bit blue, because it's sort of unprecedented for us to be watching the entire world deal with this virus that, sort of outracing everyone at the moment. And yeah, the one that got me was the 1 person every 10 minutes at the moment's dying in Iran, and I just think of the millions of people across the planet that are going to be united in grief at the same time. And I do hope that compassion and empathy and understanding and love are the words that people use to describe 2020 and, even in 1 year's time. Emily, a chain store started locally sending out people food and essentials by delivery. That's awesome, Emily. We're getting the same thing here. Our pensioners are still able to get food delivered at home, but our big supermarkets have stopped delivering to people that are able-bodied and can get to a shop. So I think that's really cool. And the other thing, there's been a huge spike in, these sort of food home delivery services Australia-wide. A lot of people are signing up for that sort of thing now as well, because I guess they just feel safer. But then if you look at data about how long the virus can actually stay alive, I thought originally it was only seconds, and then I thought it was hours, but I think it can stay alive on a surface for 9 days. I read that yesterday. I could be wrong, don't quote me on that, but it was a way lot longer than I thought. There's a lot of mortgage forgiving happening too, which is really lovely, and bills and so on. It's lovely to have you on the shore with us. Amelia Earhart has found Tassie. I think you're talking about that plane from before. It is quite surreal, isn't it? I'm trying to stay positive too, Judy Rodden. Yep, some of the prisoners are being let out, but they're the ones that are in prison for sort of minor crimes, the ones that are mandatory sentences for drink driving and that sort of thing, aren't they? There's something else I thought of. There's a prison officer in Australia who's been tested positive for coronavirus in the last 24 hours too. So yeah, coronavirus can get into the prisons. Emily, so awful. As one said, the one time we work together, we have to stay apart. Ironic. It is ironic, but thank God for technology. Because if we didn't have technology, the information about this wouldn't be getting out to people, and countries and governments wouldn't be taking drastic measures. We'd all just be getting on with our everyday lives. So it could have been a lot worse. I think that's how I'm looking at it. But I think online we're all coming together a lot more, and we're going to start seeing a whole new generation of people discovering the internet for the first time, in terms of, things like this, YouTube lives and FaceTiming. All these things are suddenly going to become how we all keep in touch. I've got meetings next week that are all FaceTime meetings. You can't buy a packet of rice, Twiggy. I've got some rice here. I can post you some. There's an email address in my about section. If you're really desperate, let me know, and I'll put some in I'll put some sealed bags together and put it in a post pack and send it to you. But I did read a story today too, just on food in Australia. We've got enough food and supplies of everything, including toilet paper, because toilet paper is also made in Australia. We're not going to run out of stuff. So this panic buying, these people have to stop. They have to stop. There's a shop somewhere in the mainland in a little country town, and I wouldn't be surprised if New Norfolk does the same thing, and down where I am, Twiggy, but they're putting signs up now that unless you can prove you live in the area, you can't buy from those shops, because suppliers are still distributing as normal. And a heap of people came to where I am from Sorel and raided our store, and so they didn't restock the shelves. Like when all the people from Sorel had bought all the loo paper, they just didn't restock it until early the next morning so that the locals could get some. But I think that's a good idea too, because suppliers still going to continue, but people may need to just isolate themselves to shopping where they live. Our shop only gets enough to support the community. It doesn't get enough to support raiders from a nearby town. But seriously, Twiggy, there'll be a bit of a limit on what I can send you, because I think I've got a couple of post packs that I was going to send things on eBay that may have 3 kilo limits, but I reckon I can put a bit of rice in there for you if you need it. I've got like a 5 kilo bag, so I'm more than happy to share some rice with you. Iran is really bad. North Korea's, we won't ever know, will we, Spacey? Micro seeds to grow veggies, so easy, and 2-week turnaround. I've got seeds on my list. Next time I have to go into Sorel to do shopping, I was going to go to the hardware and get some seeds too. I feel the same way, Emily. The people losing loved ones, and our family lost a member this week, and it wasn't from coronavirus, but just dealing with my brother-in-law. It was his mum, and he lost his brother last year, so he's had a really tough time. But it was his mum, and for him to be so far away, it makes me think of all these families where, I think it was Morgan saying before, she can't visit her mum now, and even when you live in the same town, you're separated. But I think everyone's just going to have to use and utilise technology as best as we can, and hope that there's enough sort of data. I know that Netflix is reducing their data. They're taking HD off and going to stream at a less clear level, so people can still watch Netflix, but it's not going to be HD, or it might be HD, but it might be an early form, I'm not sure. But that was an idea, an initiative that was pretty interesting, just to try and make sure that people have got the data and can watch and so on. I'm grateful for our YouTube community too, Judy Ron, and I'm glad we all found it. I'm glad we're already leaning on each other, and obviously we'll welcome anyone who discovers us along the way as well. Thanks, Emily. Love and respect to you too. We may or may not be back here when you come back. This was just a little bit of fresh air. Thank you, Morgan. Oh, hang on. What am I reading? Yeah, enjoy your walk, babe. I agree. You can listen to me talk all day. Oh, Judy Ron, thank you. That's so sweet. Emily, it was a great day. I went into your stream and Tori's Mel too. The trifecta, they're right there, Emily. Yeah, North Korea is so fascinating because we're probably never going to know. And you know, you've got to wonder if their citizens even know. I mean, they won't know what's going on in the rest of the world, but if coronavirus is there, you wonder what they're being told. It's pretty sort of scary. Some fantastic YouTube documentaries on North Korea if anyone's interested. Like, it just blows your mind. You can't even imagine how much of a Truman Show North Korea is. It's crazy. All telecommunication companies should drop free Wi-Fi. Yeah, well, if they've got it, I agree. I think the issue is data. So I think they're talking about data rationing, which may not filter down to us, hopefully, too dramatically. But because so many more people are going to be working from home, there's definitely going to be sort of a shift in data. I mean, God, I hope it doesn't get to the point where, you know, everyone's told you can only go online between this time and this time. But if that happens, I guess we'll just adjust to it with a bit of a grizzle. Emily spoke with Erin. Her feed is breaking. Is that Erin Lay from Bridget's channel that has coronavirus? I hope so. I hope there's good news. Namaste, Emily. Judy Rod, my friend Dave, who lives in Osaka, Japan, went into North Korea and did a few Periscope and YouTube videos from Inside NK. He even sent me a postcard from there. Very cool. Yeah, very cool. I might have to try and Google him because I can't remember the stuff that I found a couple of years ago. It was actually a YouTube creator that was talking about Korea, North Korea, and it made me go and watch. It was you. Actually, it was you, Judy Ron. It was you. Oh, everything comes back in a circle, right? It was you talking about it, and it made me go off, and I can't remember one of the documentaries that you recommended, but yeah, I went off and watched it, and then I just started watching heaps of stuff. So fascinating. Fascinating. But yeah, isn't it just so sad to think about how many families are going to suffer such awful losses? And it's not just elderly people, it's people are dying in their 20s, their 30s. We had someone telling us in our chat yesterday that a newborn baby's been diagnosed. I think there's an Australian 1-year-old that's tested positive. So yeah, it's not discriminating, but so far kids and teens seem to be relatively okay, which is a good thing because, you know, if the world's population is culled, we're going to need the kids to keep things going, right? Very scary in North Korea, and I'm always I feel like I've got a. Oh no, it was just chat. I thought I had a black line through the middle of my screen. It was just someone had said a lot of things in one sentence, so there's this black line. It was just the bottom of their chat. Yes, prayers for all the victims and also the friends and family. I mean, I just can't imagine, you know, like the fact the death toll is now greater in Italy than in China, and if we're talking population size, I don't think you could possibly be in Italy now and not know someone who's died or tested positive to coronavirus. It'd have to be getting to that sort of level, right? And it's really sad that their numbers aren't stalling, whereas China, no new cases overnight. We're now almost at 250,000 people worldwide. We're just under 245,000. There's been now over 10,000 deaths, and I swear, Freddie and I, when we were live 4 days ago, it was 5,000, so it's doubled in 4 days. There's a very high recovery rate though, like there's nearly 90,000 have recovered, and there's still a huge chunk of active cases, but the bulk of those people are going to make it too. So that's one good thing. The other countries that are really starting to get dramatic spikes, Spain, Germany, the USA, 57 deaths overnight, now nearly 14,000 cases. I mean, I've been fascinated watching it unravel in America, but yeah, the spikes are happening big time for you guys, so much love to all of you. We are thinking of you, and we know it's going to happen here soon, so we all just need to pick up that big ball of love and pass it around the world to each other. After USA, France, South Korea, Switzerland and the UK, and in Australia we've got 756 total, 160 new in the last 24 hours and 7 deaths in the last 24 hours. So again, those little spikes are starting to happen, and like the Italians that are going live on YouTube and talking on Twitter, they're like, don't be complacent, because you're all where we were 3 weeks ago, where we didn't think this was going to go crazy, and look at them now, you know, they've overtaken the death toll to China. So I think, you know, we can really learn a lot from China. They've done an amazing job to try and contain it. So any information that can be passed on to governments, and governments need to start acting. There's a lot of criticism of our government at the moment. What about you guys in the States? Are people getting fired up about it? I mean, we've got, you know, members of the public are getting fired up about our Prime Minister, but we've also got experts and professionals and scientists getting really annoyed. Is the same thing happening in America with Trump? I wonder if I've lost you, chats. It's a lovely message. The last message I can see is Judy Ron, prayers for all the victims. I'm going to have to head back to my house shortly and finish recording. I volunteer for Print Radio, which is a radio station for the visually impaired, providing an incredibly important service, getting the news out to our visually impaired, and it's a very rewarding thing to do. So I've recorded it. I do a little body and soul show once a week, which is more of a mindfulness sort of channel. So I did a really beautiful article about happiness, finding happiness when you're sad, which is really lovely and kind of relevant for right now, and a few other uplifting sorts of stories and health stories, and if there's a health expo, which obviously now there won't be, but things like that. And then the other thing I do is a show called Inbox, which is a Friday wrap up of the major stories around the country. And I used to only did 2 shifts, but I used to actually go into the studio and read lives in the studio. But anyone with equipment to record from home is now recording from home. So yeah, I've got that. Feel free, if you stumble across positive articles, flick them to me on my email that's in the About section, which I do actually check now. I didn't get emails for a long time, so I stopped checking it, and then I opened it up the other day and I was like, oh shit. And I replied to people who'd emailed me over a year ago, some of whom haven't got back to me. Morgan, our governor's taking over because federal response hasn't been as sufficient as people want. I guess that's a similar scenario here with us, Morgan, in Tasmania, with our Premier declaring a state of emergency yesterday, giving our police commissioner a lot more power to deal with it and start imposing and enforcing quarantine. And we closed off our borders, and there were people online yesterday saying, you know, shit, Tasmania's done what we should have done a week ago. So and I think if your governors are empowered to do that, that's awesome. Here we had to declare a state emergency to give our police commissioner and our government more power to do things without getting permission from the mainland. Bye, Spacey. Thanks for joining. Lovely to have you here. Yeah, my other volunteering, Morgan, is volunteering in a library, and that's been cancelled because, I mean, I must admit, even before coronavirus, the story broke about it, I was finding I was going through a shitload of hand sanitizer working or volunteering at the library, and I actually said to the coordinator, Fiona, I was like, you better keep that hand sanitizer stocked, because if that runs out, I'm not coming in for a shift. Anyway, then the whole coronavirus thing broke, and I was like, oh my God, I was actually joking about, well, I wasn't joking about the hand sanitizer, like, I really appreciated it being there. But then Fiona showed me that cupboard and they had plenty. So, but the library now is all pretty much online. They've announced another course that people can do online out of the library this morning. Where do you volunteer, Morgan? I mean, I'm lucky I've got facilities to do my podcast, which means I can do all this sort of print radio recording, and I can keep doing my podcast, and I can go live on YouTube from home and stuff. And, you know, jobs might pop up around the world for people to do that sort of stuff from home. Bye, Spacey. But yeah, Twiggy, do flick me an email. I was serious about the rice. I'm more than happy to send you some. In fact, I know for a fact there's rice at our local shop. So rather than me actually divvying up like Ziploc bags of the stuff to send you, I'll just buy you a couple of packets and pop them in the mail. I can do that today. So yeah, please do take me up on that offer. I meant it. Foster kids, that's right. And with the fire department, lots of sanitizer. Yep. Look at these surfers, beastly careless. I mean, they're not. They're very aware. Surfers are very aware of nature generally. But good on them for getting out there. And, you know, we're talking about anxiety on the show on Sunday, and mental health and things to do. And I think, you know, surfing is a therapy, just like our little beach walks are. And for the moment, we're relatively safe in Tassie. Now that our borders are closed, probably even safer. Well, if you don't have any luck in New Norfolk, Twiggy, let me know. I'm more than happy to help you out. Morgan, you certainly will still get your Smooth Criminal podcast. Thank you for plugging it. So I'm going to wrap up, everyone. Don't forget, Freddie and I have a show Saturday night, US time. You know, I'm going to say roughly dinner time in all the different time zones, around dinner time. The early morning for him in France, and 10 a.m.-ish for me and 1 a.m.-ish for Freddie. And we want to chat about this sort of anxiety and looking after everyone's mental health and little things that we can do. And I've already got some really lovely stories to share of things that we can do. But you guys are so much part of my mental health and have been, especially with what I went through last year with work and all the losses and so on that I've experienced in the last year and a few months now, and the debilitating anxiety I'd never lived with before, and the burnout. So you guys have been so big in my recovery, and the least I can do is try and make everyone feel good about themselves and have a few laughs through this, but still acknowledging the human loss and the tragedy of it as well. So on that note, I love you guys. Stay safe, stay healthy. Good advice, Morgan. My pleasure. Gorgeous. Thanks everyone for joining me. And for anyone who has watched this on replay and you've made it to the end, thank you so much. Hit the like button on the way out, Groovers. And don't forget, Freddie and I will be live on Saturday/Sunday to talk about how we can all try and keep our anxiety and depression away as we all watch this unravel across the planet. Love and compassion, everyone. See you soon.